LTA는 SK텔레콤.
And down here in the bottom right, representing KT Rolster, the red Protoss, we do have Zest.
Yeah, I like that ID. It's he seems to be
Zesty.
one. Yeah, it's zesty. It's the one he's kind of settled on at the very end of the day, I guess. And there's a shot of him now. And he's up against his opponent to the top right in blue of this 4-player map. It's Bbyong. Really, really strong Terran player. Overshadowed at the end of last season of Pro League by other players like Innovation and Flash, but he really stood out to me. And the reason why is because he's one of these players who... I talked a little bit about this earlier, about the mindset of being a Kespeteran who's got better macro than other players, and you just make an army faster than everybody else and attack with it. And don't be shy. Don't be shy. But that was a quick reaction. She's quick. Going forward, I keep getting these camera shots that I feel like I must comment on. I've totally lost my train of thought now.
You were going into what you really liked about Bbyong,
Yeah, so
in the beginning of the last Pro League.
This is my stream of consciousness has like all fallen onto the floor like dominoes. Let's start over. Some players on these Kespa teams, some of these Terrans, like to build an army so quickly and attack with it and be aggressive with it. Follow a builder, almost like a textbook attack timing. And they're really good at that because they have such good macro, and that's why they beat a lot of these ESF teams when they first came into the scene. Suddenly, everyone's like, wow, how are they so good so fast? It's just because they have this Starcraft1 skill, this background, the ability to macro very quickly, build up an army very quickly, and then use it. So what players like Bbyong have done that really impresses me is that they're able to play so well reactionarily. When they see something going on, instead of just going for that same push, like, well, hold on a minute, I'm going to attack a different way here.
I also really am a proponent of the reactionary play. We've seen it out of so many players here. Just players who aren't going to follow that textbook, like you said. They're not going to open the book and turn it to page, 4 warp gate attack and say, okay, on 23 supply, I cut probes or, whatever. They're not going to do that. They're going to say, okay, well, I see my opponent is doing this based on the scouting information that I've gathered. And I'm going to build this, or I'm going to tech to this, or I'm going to move my units in this way. Okay, I'm going to drop here now. I'm going to be aggressive now because of a reason, not just because, okay, like I have a certain amount of users, let's start dropping. Like,
Yeah.
The players that actually have a reason behind what they do, those are the most reasonable players, not for no reason. And they are usually the most successful.
I need to give you a reason candy bar, or reason candy for all those
reasons.
Does
exist? A reason exist?
Yeah, it's a German candy. It's really good. I highly recommend trying it if you ever get a chance. I know they have them in Korea, in fact.
You can buy me a reason candy. I would be totally fine with you buying me a reason candy.
I will buy one for you. You can have it. But we have a proxy here, and I'm curious to see what this is going to be. He has taken his second gas. He took it very late. I think this is just going to be a Stargate. And he's going to proxy oracles out of here and get some damage done. He has enough resources for it. And there it is, Stargate.
Drops the Stargate. Getting that gas later allows him to get that Nexus up earlier. And look at this. At the same time, Bbyong putting not a proxy CC, but a hidden CC up in that top left.
This is the kind of play that I'm talking about. This is the kind of play where you don't follow the standards. You break the rules. You do something different and unexpected, which is... especially last season of Pro League, where so many of these Kespeterans were just really starting to get into the groove of part of the Swarm and switching to Starcraft2 in general. They were all kind of following the same builds, and we saw every player going for a Hellbat drop in almost every matchup before Hellbats got nerfed. We all watched those times.
Yep.
But Bbyong was doing oftentimes things differently. And to hide a command center here is one great way to get ahead against a Protoss player. Does he have enough to defend this Oracle? We're going to see, because he is, of course, committing 400 resources to a command center elsewhere.
Yeah, that's the big question. If he can't defend this Oracle, and if he moves his army too far out, it's going to be really hard on him. If he can't defend it, this hidden CC won't be as beneficial as it would have been if he does defend this well, and he's moving his army out right now. He's got to be careful. This Oracle is going to come in here and be able to pick off a bunch of Marines or a bunch of SCVs.
Yeah. Here we go, only 3 Marines, that's not enough. The Oracle can actually kill all 3 of them if he actually controls it that well. He just decides to target SCVs instead, only gets 2, And you know what? This actually buys a lot of time for Bbyong to get a few more Marines out. He's making 3 at a time with that reactor. Still a lot of damage done. 4 kills. Going to get a mule here. Actually kills the 30 minerals as well. Those are never going to come back. And he's just running circles around the Marines, literally delaying the factory and then by proxy delaying that starport. So he's going to have lower medevac count. They would like to, a little bit slower, I guess I should say. The Stargate is on power, but the damage has already been done.
Yeah, a bunch of damage going down there. 5 SCVs going down as well. Those mules with those minerals, like you were mentioning. Another one, he's coming back into the natural.
He doesn't have enough energy to attack
he
just
quite
yet.
have enough.
There's the starport going down. Twilight Council goes back up at home meanwhile. And if right now we watch Zest get too complacent and get too comfortable with sitting back here and thinking, okay, well, I did some damage to my Oracle, now I'm gonna have the better upgrades, I'm ahead, and not notice or not realize this 3rd command center is up, that could be a big problem. That could be a game changer.
Yeah, I mean, if he sits back and he's like, oh, okay, I did a bunch of damage and I'm going to go sit back, I'm going to tech up, everything will be fine, right? Well, it won't if he doesn't scout that CC. He has now 3 CCs now for Bbyong, and that is a lot of economic advantages that Bbyong can actually get onto Zest. If Zest is not careful, he has to scout up there. I mean, he has the Oracle flying around. He has to at least check up there.
Yeah, here comes another Oracle into the main base here. Now up to 10 kills on this Oracle. Gets not quite 11. Very low on energy here and will actually escape. Really nice control here. And this puts him at an 11 Harvester deficit. But with triple mules being dropped constantly, a mule has about the mining efficiency of 4 SCVs. So you could consider each command center as 4 SCVs being dropped around every time he's got 50 energy. So if you think about it that way, still Bbyong is in an okay spot with that command center at the top left. And this false sense of security that Zest may end up getting from thinking he's so far ahead could really come back to bite him. He's only now 3 Harvesters ahead, and with all the mules, he's behind in economy.
Yeah, he's definitely behind in the economy. During this whole time, he has been able to get that Templar Archives up, as well as a Robo Bay and 6 gateways. So he has decent production, but he hasn't yet gone for that 3rd. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out for him. He at least has to think about getting that 3rd, unless he's going to go for an attack here. And that
last Widow Mine in the main base does get slowly but steadily flushed out here. Yeah, if he doesn't take a 3rd base, he's going to do an attack timing. And with these 2 gateways being added with no 3rd nexus, with the timing of Storm and Immortal coming out, 2 probes being still added, probably going to be the last 2 that he adds, his timing could be really strong here. If he thinks he's like, okay, well, it's 2 base against 2 base, I won't take a 3rd until you do, and I'm going to have the better tech, and he just sits back and defends, he's unknowingly going to be basically giving this game away because he hasn't seen that 3rd base.
Yeah, he still hasn't sent that Oracle up there, and he has gotten the Revelation onto those army units, so that is good for him. He has to defend the stove. The Storm's going down pretty good. A lot of damage going on to them. The Warp Prism coming in here with the 2 High Templar and 2 Zealots as well. Could do a lot of damage if he's not careful over there.
Fake Oracle to draw the units away, and now they're not in the natural. 2 mules being dropped here. Watch out for the Widow Mine, though. Barely not in range. 1 Storm goes down. So many SCVs die. 2nd Storm is good as well, killing mules. And he actually gets away with the Warp Prism, and I believe both High Templar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, both High Templar getting away. There's so much damage done there. Up to 20 SCVs total now done to Bbyong, but continuing with a 3rd CC and building a 4th one now, almost completed. And still, Zest has not gone for a 3rd.
Zest is really going to need to not only take a 3rd base, but continue putting pressure on if he wants to keep his economy level. Because we're going to have very soon a 4th base that's perceived as a 3rd base. Even a gas being taken at the 3rd base right now for Bbyong. He's had that for so long. And Zest takes a lead in the supply with all these storms that he's doing, the good defensive storms on the attack, also the attack where he killed so many Harvesters. But that 3rd command center, unscouted, continues to be what keeps Bbyong in this game.
Yeah, that 3rd CC and potentially that 4th CC now going to be dropped. And now building that robotics bay, finally getting that +1 for ground units on to Zest. Gonna try to get that 3rd Nexus up after making Templar Archives, Robo, and 8 gateways.
Yeah, and if you look, he doesn't actually... Okay, now he's going to finally scout this with his Warp Prism. He doesn't actually know about all the barracks that were added. The Hallucinate Oracle that came into the fake didn't quite catch that. So he doesn't even expect that his opponent has more production than he should off of the amount of bases he has, so he doesn't even have that little hint. But finally the Warp Prism will see this, but it's still taking forever. I mean, the Warp Prism is a little bit faster since that buff it got a little while ago, but it's not quite able to get over that base. Nice feedback here.
Nice feedback. Is he going to be able to get that medevac? It is going to go down. 2 medevacs and a bunch of Marines going down to the feedbacks. Nice drop defense there, and this Warp Prism that was coming around is going to spot this fully mining base here, and he's just going to make that.
One Zealot. He's got to be kicking himself here now. But still, he has a supply lead. He has a more expensive army. He's got good upgrades, and he has a lot of storms. One thing he could decide to do here is intercept the SCVs. He could just decide to go for a frontal attack. There's no bunkers set up here, and that army that he has is really, really powerful. The longer he waits, though, the more that base is already paid off, and Bbyong's production that he added and the powering up that he does starts to come into play here. He has, even though he lifted that base, already that 3rd base up and running, which is really his 4th base in this game, but at his 3rd base location, he's still on 3 mining bases.
Yeah, still on 3 mining bases. It looks like he wants to go for aggression. It's about those EMPs. If those EMPs can land really well onto the High Templar and Archons, that's going to be a bit of a problem. Trying to snipe the High Templar here. They do get a decent storm onto these Marauders, and they're going to be picked up by the medevacs and eventually get away. Looks like he did get one of those High Templar there. Yeah,
one Templar goes down. Forces a lot of storms to be used, though, you know, on a small group of units. He didn't actually really get a lot of kills there. This buys him more time. Now he's going to be able to just take a normal 4th base down below his natural, which is close to his opponent. He doesn't have to. As you can see, he's actually just going to keep the Command Center around to rally extra SCVs out. I think with the amount of Protoss on the map right now, for him to just try to take that 4th at a completely different location would be a little bit overzealous. But let's look at the situation that we have here between these two players. Upgrade-wise, they're relatively even. Blink is a little bit late. That's why so many of these medevacs have gotten away. It's 3 base against 3 base. Longer 3rd base up for Bbyong, but a lot of that was neutralized by the storm harassment that we saw. And right now, we're kind of on even footing for these two players. Neither player has a huge distinct advantage.
Yeah, there's no big distinct advantage, but it looks like Zest, you know, he has a lot of tech up right now. He is getting those Colossus out. He did just finish range there, and adding another Robo facility, he is going to go into that heavy Colossus production, which could be dangerous for Bbyong if he doesn't recognize this and make that Viking switch. The Observer did point out that he does only have 1 starport, and it's gonna be hard for him if he allows Zest to get up that big ball of Colossi.
Yeah, the big ball of Colossi could be a big ball of problems for Bbyong if he doesn't get those Vikings out soon. He's starting to add another starport now, so he can. He is ahead in upgrades actually now. He wants to attack here. Notice also he doesn't have a lot of Marauders in his mix. He's mostly Marines and Ghosts, which means that eating Storms is a disaster for him. And he actually sends these units over not close enough, so he's losing so many SCVs. Meanwhile, he is going to get the high ground over here. Do those Templar have enough for Storms? It doesn't look like it. He's not using them anyway. Ghost used Cloak. 1 Templar down. The second one survives a little bit longer. The Colossi here are really the scary problem for Bbyong, but he will get away narrowly through that choke point.
And look at these Zealots. They've already done so much damage. 4 kills on that one. The Colossi in the back here, not the best positioning for Bbyong right now, but Zest also bunched up the impians, go on to a lot of the army, but it doesn't even matter. Zest continuing to chase the army of Bbyong.
That he's using that Oracle provision of the Ghost. Mules being dropped here at this base. He desperately wants to get that mineral economy back up so he can remax his army, because as it is right now, Zest has the much bigger army. 176 supply to 159. He catches this whole huge chunk of Bbyong's army right now in the middle of the map. Now he's going for the attack. Double Colossi production. 4 Vikings at a time coming out now as well. But with the Warp Prism, he's got a great forward warping point to continue this attack. Up 50 supply right now. Bbyong is in trouble, Brendan.
Bbyong is in huge trouble. There are so many Colossi in the map, as well as that forward Warp Prism continuing to warp in units. And just looking at Bbyong's base, this 3rd is barely even mining. Doesn't look like he has much of an army. You see a little blob there to the left of his natural, but I don't think it's going to be enough to go up against Zest's army right now.
Yep, here we go, going for the attack now. Zealot's actually attacking SCVs. He'd like to be participating in the fight against the Bio, but there's so much on the ground anyways. Stalkers, Immortals, the last of the Vikings fall. Where's the answer for the Colossus? It just died to Stalker fire, and this looks like it's the end for Bbyong here. Zest and KT will take the 2-1 lead.
Yeah, Zest and G2 definitely going to take this. The Colossi and the Stalkers not even fighting with the Zealots. GG. Zest takes the win over Bbyong.
And look at that face. Look at him get out of the booth. The third base for him is so, for Bbyong, so risky, but it paid off for him for a long time. Not scouted until very, very late, but the harassment that we saw from Zest and that late game composition with the Storms, with the Colossus transition, was just too much for Bbyong. That's one of the powers that Protoss has against Terra, in the same way that Zerg has this power against most races, is the ability to tech switch. And tech switches could be devastating in Starcraft 2. If you're making only Ghosts and you're preparing yourself for Templar as the main problem that your opponent has, the main unit to deal with, and you make too many Ghosts and you don't make Vikings until too late, and suddenly your opponent's making double Colossi out of 2 Robos, then you've got a big problem on your hands and don't have enough Vikings. If you have less Vikings than your opponent has Colossi, there is something very wrong.
You're in a lot of trouble if you ever get into that situation. And I think he did get a scan onto something, but it just wasn't enough information for him. He wasn't able to switch into Vikings. He only had that one starport up at that one moment where Zest did have those 2 Robos just pumping out those Colossi. Even for an attack on the third, it wasn't really that good. He did get a bunch of those units in the choke.